We're going to make now one of my favorite cocktails, and it's a very, very light, juicy, slightly tropical drink, but a little bit drier than you might expect. It's also a good time to remind you of some of the basic bartending skills when even you're making even the simplest of cocktails. The first, of course, is to get your glassware as cold as possible. All elements of your drink you want to be as cold as possible. That means we're going to shake our drink with a lot of ice. We're going to strain it into a glass that, in an ideal world, will be as cold as possible. One of the ways, a shortcut for doing this, for example, would be to ice your glass. In this case, we're using a cocktail, or these days it's called a martini glass. And then we're just going to use a little bit of sparkling water just to get that chilling down as fast as possible. What it means is that in the 60 or so seconds it should take me to make this drink, we hope, this glass will be as cold as possible. I'll then throw that ice out, and then we should have a nice chilled cocktail glass for this cocktail, which is called the Dutchess. It's also a great time to explain a little bit of the theory behind how we make cocktails the way we do. One of the most important things to remember in a cocktail recipe is not so much the actual amounts, but the proportion between the various ingredients. So you'll often hear bartenders and read cocktail recipe books which talk in terms of parts rather than, say, ounces if you're from North America, or milliliters if you're from most of the world, or centiliters if you're from the European Union. So in this case, we're going to be using 42 below passion fruit, which is a flavored vodka, peach liqueur, pineapple juice, and guava juice. And the parts will be, if you like, the proportion. Our smallest ingredient will be peach liqueur, of which we're going to use just a dash. So we're going to call that 1 part. Then we're going to use twice as much of both pineapple and guava. They're going to be equal parts. So what we say we call for is 2 parts of guava and 2 parts of pineapple. But the bedrock for this will be 42 below passion fruit, for which we'll need 3 parts. So 3 times as much passion fruit flavored vodka as we'll be using of peach liqueur. It's not so much, just remember, it's not so much the actual quantity. That can be determined by either the size of your glass, how much you feel like drinking, or perhaps, for example, if you work in a bar, by the legal standard for how much alcohol you're allowed to serve in a particular cocktail. So we'll measure this. This is a bartender's tool called a jigger, pretty much like a 2-sided egg cup. On one side you find the standard measure, in this case for New Zealand, 30 mils. On the other side you find a half measure, 15 mils. You may also like to use, say, a measuring jug, small jug here, which measures tablespoons, ounces, milliliters, or say this egg cup, which typically measures about an ounce in the area in which it usually holds an egg. So we're going to use a jigger for ease of use. So we're going to call for 1 part of peach liqueur. Then we're going to double that with our guava juice. Guava juice is a mixer which is not widely used, but it ought to be. It's probably my favorite juice. It's got a lovely dry flavor. It's very, very tart. It's got a lovely texture as well. It really adds body. Pineapple juice is almost the opposite. It's lovely and fluffy, very, very sweet, and so it's going to add a real sort of frothiness and a lightness to the drink. So the pineapple juice is going to make it sweet, the guava is going to make it dry. And then we have 3 parts, if you like, or 3 times as much of the pineapple of the passion fruit as we do of the peach. And that's hopefully going to bring it all in balance. Now we've got our cocktail glass, which is nicely chilled, and happily, when making cocktails al fresco, you can just throw the ice over the back of your veranda, and we've got a nicely chilled glass there. Then finally, the most important ingredient in any cocktail, except of course for those which are meant to be served warm, is ice. So we're going to get this glass as cold as possible. Then using our shaking tin, we just throw this over the top, turn it around, and always, if you're lucky enough to have a Boston shaking tin, always shake with the glass over your shoulder, so that if the seal breaks, the drink will go over me rather than over my guest, or in this case, you. All right, shake it vigorously, put these ingredients to combine well. And then we're going to strain this into our chilled cocktail glass by using a Hawthorne strainer. You can see that the ingredients are incredibly well mixed, and that the pineapple juice is giving us a lovely frothiness. It's going to give a real lightness to the drink. At this point, the Dutchess. Fantastic.